My God, I hate drugs.
The Senate Justice Committee finally makes its recommendation on lowering the minimum age of criminal responsibility. But during deliberations, the panel chairman backtracks on his earlier comments about President Rodrigo Duterte's influence on his decisions. Our Joyce Ilas reports.
The Senate Justice Committee chairman is quick to decide on lowering the age of criminal responsibility from 15 to 12 years old. And Committee Chairman Dick Gordon's basis for lowering the age?
Because that's what I feel. I'm the chairman because that's what I see. The whole world is at 10, 9, 7. Why should I go to 15 just to satisfy the people who want to say, oh, we won?
Days before the hearing, Gordon said he favors a lower minimum age in line with the president's request.
You have to make him win. Galit na galit yung tao eh. Nakita ko talaga. Ako, makita niyo yung mukha ng presidente. Galit talaga siya sa drugs eh.
Gordon delivers a similar line during the hearing on Friday.
Okay, you want to win? You win. Sige, tingnan natin kung papayagan na magbibigay ng budget yung iba dyan. I hope you can read between the lines of what I'm saying.
But when reporters asked for clarification, a change in Gordon's tune.
Hinirequest si President Duterte yan eh. Hindi naman ako pasunod-sunod eh. Sabi pa nga, 9 eh. Sabi ko, hindi, 12 tayo.
At the hearing, government officials and civil society groups agree there is a failure in carrying out the juvenile justice law. Children in conflict with the law should be brought to reformation centers called Bahay Pag-asa. But the Commission on Human Rights says that 2018 data show some children were detained in city jails in some provinces. Local government officials also admit they lack detention areas and facilities for children caught committing a crime. They also lack social workers to help these children. Psychologist Lian Alampay says lowering the minimum age of criminal responsibility might do more harm to children.
The risk is higher that they will be repeating their offenses, as we have already discussed, because of poor implementation. So the problems will not be solved by lowering MACR.
Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police and the Interior Department agree with lowering the minimum age to 12.
Nag-spike yung pag-open ng crime at the age of 10 and up. So, especially even murder, meron na siya, and robbery and rape.
Gordon plans to present his recommendation to senators in the plenary next week. Joyce Ila, CNN Philippines.
The chief of the police Anti-Violence Against Women and Children unit says crimes committed by children actually went down from 2016 to 2017, contrary to data from previous years. Senior Superintendent Angela Rejano and clinical psychologist Hani Karandang went on the record to share what they think of moves to hold younger children accountable for crimes.
We don't have to amend or do anything. We just have to make it work. And that's also how we do not label young children as criminals. No? So I think we should be for the children, the benefit of the child.
As a mother, you know, not as a police officer, because I too is a mother. So it disheartened seeing my child, say 9 years old, 12 years old. So hindi pa teenager yung anak ko. Kumbaga, hindi pa siya gumagraduate into childhood na sinasabi. Papunta na siya doon sa teenage life, like 13 up to.
Correct.
So it saddens if ikukulong na yung anak ko. There are letters of law that prohibits these acts. But ang tinitignan po natin dito yung pagiging restorative justice system.
Catch the full interview on the replays of On the Record. That's tonight at 8 and tomorrow at 5:30 in the afternoon. We asked several senatorial candidates if they agree to lowering the minimum age of criminal responsibility. Here's their reply in the first CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum last month.
Senate President Tito Soto says the current age of criminal liability in the Philippines is too high, even for international standards. So candidates, the question is, well, the Senate President filed Senate Bill 2026, seeking to lower the age of criminal liability from 15 to 13. Ang tanong, would you vote to approve this measure? Yes or no?
Tatlong no. Gary Alejano, Bam Aquino, and Shell Diokno, yes.
Yes.
For Bato,
Yes.
De La Rosa, JV Ejercito,
Senator
JP
Juan
Serge,
Ponce Enrile.
and Francis Tolentino.
5.
The second CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum is happening on Sunday. 6 candidates will join the forum and weigh in on the biggest national issues. Former Interior Secretary Rafi Alunan, former Party List Representative Nery Colmenares, former Bangsamoro Transition Commission member Samira Gutok, former Presidential Spokesman Harry Roque, former Senator Mar Rojas, and former Congressman Erin Tañada. The forum happens in Ateneo de Manila University at 5 p.m. Watch it live only here on CNN Philippines. Moving on to another story, national canvassers expected to conclude tonight their official count of votes in the Bangsamoro plebiscite in Mindanao. Trisha Terada joins us live from the COMELEC headquarters in Manila. Trisha, tell us what's happening with today's count.
Well, Ruth, by this time, all ballot boxes and certificates of canvass have already been opened. Those are now with the tabulation and auditing department. We are on standby if COMELEC on bank sitting as the National Plebiscite Board of Canvassers will announce the results of the canvass or the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. The official count started yesterday with Cotabato City, where the National Board of Canvassers actually questioned the difference of the total number of no votes in the Certificate of Canvass or COC and Statement of Votes or SOV. But the Tabulation and Audit Committee clarified today that there were no discrepancies with the COC of Cotabato City. It turns out that the city plebiscite canvassers overlooked the second page of the SOVs, therefore failing to include the grand total of the votes. So the sum of all the no votes for Cotabato City is still placed at 24,994. As for the second issue on the number of voters who actually voted, the Tabulation Committee found out that there were incomplete entries pertaining to the number of actual registered voters. So the OnBank says it was a formal defect. Now, as soon as these issues of Cotabato City COC have been resolved, the National Board of Canvassers proceeded with the official count for Isabela, which recorded 19,032 yes votes, 22,441 no votes. But before they proceeded with Isabela City, there was a concern raised by a yes proponent.
Are you alleging fraud?
Yes, Your Honor.
On what ground?
That there are plebiscite returns that would reflect, that showed erasures and have been tampered with.
When you allege fraud in the certificate of canvass, on its face, the certificates of canvass, are they genuine on its face?
On its face, they are genuine,
Yes,
Your Honor.
but you are alleging fraud of the contents.
Yes, Your
Is
Honor.
that a ground for stopping the canvass? Is it or it is not?
It's not, Your Honor.
It is not a ground.
Yes, Your Honor.
You know your relief.
While Isabela City does not want to be part of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, Basilan voted to include them. The OnBank canvass, the ARMM, last. Its COC shows over 1.5 million voters are in favor of ratifying the BOL, while more than 198,000 expressed their opposition. So right at this time, Ruth, we're still waiting for the COMELEC OnBank to make any announcement, and we are also waiting for the Auditing and Tabulation Committee to release the results and the official tally for the plebiscite. Ruth?
Trisha Terada there reporting. We appreciate all your online comments and our top stories tonight. Keep them coming through our pages at CNN Philippines. We're also live right now on Facebook. Here are today's global headlines. The United States making another move that may anger China. The U.S. Navy sailed 2 warships through the Taiwan Strait yesterday. The last 2 times it did this were in October and November. Both operations shadowed by multiple Chinese warships. Beijing views the self-governed Democratic Island of Taiwan as a breakaway province. Earlier this month, China's President Xi Jinping called on Taiwan to reject independence and embrace peaceful reunification with China. He later warned China will not hesitate to use force if necessary to bring Taiwan back under its control. The U.S. partial government shutdown now on day 35 with no end in sight. The Senate blocked two plans to end the partial government shutdown Thursday. Now a bipartisan group of senators is considering alternative plans to reopen the government at least temporarily. One proposal, approve a 3-week continuing resolution to fund the government. President Donald Trump says he would support that, but only if it includes a large down payment for a border wall. Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was quick to respond to Mr. Trump's condition, calling it not reasonable. Meanwhile, internal documents reviewed by CNN say the White House is preparing a draft resolution for Trump to declare a national emergency along the southern border. This move is expected to face a fierce legal backlash. And speaking of walls, Pope Francis addressed the issue of immigration as he headlined the World Youth Day opening ceremony in Panama. In his speech, the pontiff called for dialogue to overcome fears about migration as he slammed what he calls builders of walls.
We know that the father of lies, the devil, prefers a divided, bickering community. The builders of bridges and the builders of walls. Those builders of walls sow fear and look to divide people. What do you want to be? Builders of bridges. What do you want to be? Builders of bridges. You learned well. I like that.
This is Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Police hold a day of remembrance for the 44 fallen SAF troopers.